On June 5, 1983, Grenada's Prime Minister, Maurice Bishop, addressed an audience of some 3,000 people at Hunter College in New York City. Bishop was in the United States as part of his government's long-standing policy to normalize relations with the United States. But the Reagan administration, rather than consenting to meet with the Prime Minister, stepped up its attacks against Grenada, accusing the Bishop government of being a Soviet-Cuban pawn and a threat to democracy in the region.
The real reason for all of this hostility is because some perceive that what is happening in Grenada can lay the basis for a new socio-economic and political path of development. They give all kinds of reasons and excuses, some of them credible, some utter rubbish. There's an interesting one that we saw very recently in a secret report of the State Department. I want to tell you about that one, so you can reflect on that one. That secret report made this point, that Grenada is different to Cuba and Nicaragua, and the Grenada Revolution is in one sense even worse, I'm using their language, than the Cuban and Nicaraguan revolutions, because the people of Grenada and the leadership of Grenada speaks English and therefore can communicate directly to the people of the United States. But I want to tell you what that same report also said, and said that also made us very dangerous. And that is that the people of Grenada and the leadership of Grenada are predominantly black. They said that 95% of our population is black, and they had a correct statistic. And if we have 95% of predominantly African origin in our country, then we can have a dangerous appeal to 30 million black people in the United States.
Less than 5 months after his appearance at Hunter College, Maurice Bishop, a number of leading members of the New Jewel movement, and many Grenadian citizens were killed. 6 days later, following the executions and killings, 6,000 U.S. troops, supported by helicopter gunships, fighter aircraft, and a large naval task force from the world's most powerful nation, invaded Grenada, the smallest sovereign nation in the Western Hemisphere.
When we explain the gains of the revolution, to take them out of this old style, where they just come from their field, and from the field to their bed, after a while, people begin to understand that all life don't have to be so hard. Things can change, you know.
Uprising! Gone are the days when our mothers and sisters were sex-exploited for jobs.
Today, the people are enjoying many more democratic rights and freedoms and are much more involved and participating in the building of our revolutionary process.
Our country are different things we want to form. Normalize the people, teach, learn for myself, the youth, the old, the young, in education, all such of things. that will be help to build the revolution.
The Caribbean is a region of many cultures and peoples who share a common history. Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique make up a small country in the Caribbean Sea. The country's 110,000 people are mostly of African descent. They took control of their lives and their future through a revolution on March 13, 1979, the first revolution in the English-speaking Caribbean.
If we are going to talk about the revolution in Grenada, first of all, there was no freedom. There was definitely a government that was in power to keep down each and every person in this island that had the ability or the ambition to go forward, lift the head above the water. We know that for a fact.
So we're in a different era now, island, man. Grenada, a big revolution in a little country. In a little country. Yes. When they see what Grenada doing, and see progress is making.
We know the future. We could see the future coming towards us, right?
March 13th, 1979, comrades, was a bright new dawn for the people of Grenada and the working people of the Caribbean. That dawn marked the end of the long, dark night of terror and the beginning of a new day for our people.
Oh, Grenada, oh, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, oh, Grenada, oh, Grenada, oh, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, we let fathers do.
As Prime Minister Maurice Bishop said, this revolution is creating a new democracy. It has opened up great opportunities for the people to participate in making the decisions which affect their everyday lives and the future of their country.
Oh, Grenada, oh, Grenada, oh, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, oh, Grenada, oh, Grenada, oh, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, whenever you are in action, we'll start it down to bring about a revolution. For your money in treasury, and the people no longer hungry, and the building a new society. Free Grenada, free Grenada, free Carriacou, Petite Martinique, joy.
It has brought them hope. It has brought them joy.
Free Grenada, free Carriacou, Petite Martinique, joy.
I once thought that a man has a right to love, maybe a woman or something of the sort. But I later learned that a man has a right to love his country first. We slave for a colonial system, a capitalistic, an imperialistic system. But now we're slaving for ourselves. If you call it slavery, we're slaving for ourselves. It didn't came by an accident. It came to the struggling people of this country. with the will to free themselves.
First, the Arawaks inhabited the island, and then the Caribs, from whom the region gets its name. When the Europeans came to the region, many Caribs resisted and were killed. Some leaped to death in the sea rather than submit to domination. From the time Europeans first came to this region, they fought one another for control of the area's land, wealth, and sea lanes. Some of the territories fell under British control, others under Spanish, French, or Dutch, but all suffer from the effects of 400 years of exploitation. The British eventually gained control of Grenada and incorporated the island into their colonial system of triangular trade. This system took raw materials and luxury items to Europe and brought finished manufactured goods from Europe to the colonies.
I want to hear the drum.
Africans were captured and brought to the colonies to provide the needed labor.
When them colonial powers came here, they raped us, they beat us, they accuse us, and they refuse us.
Following the abolition of slavery in 1833, the former slaves were free to work as wage earners on the large estates owned by a local elite. But the triangular trading pattern still continues.
Anything of ours that had any value, had any worth, anything that we are able to produce that can get some money for, have been shipped away. In a way, it seems as if our whole life, or people, or culture, or being have been made to be shipped away to the metropolitan countries. In that whole process of shipping ourselves away, we have been underdeveloped. We have been consciously underdeveloped, if you can call it that way.
Among agricultural workers, you know, they have to get up early in the morning, go to work, come back, hurry home in the afternoon. And this thing had to go on every day. They lived in houses that were falling down. They couldn't buy adequate food at the end of the week because they were only working for $12 and $15 at the end of the week. And what did they get for it?
When the industrialized countries suffered under the Great Depression of the 1930s, many Grenadians were forced to go to other islands seeking work. There they soon became involved in the trade union and anti-colonial movements which had sprung up throughout the region. In the early 1950s, one Eric Matthew Gary returned to Grenada and organized a union for agricultural workers. He used this position to gain political power, and when Grenada became independent in 1974, Gary became its first prime minister. Sir Eric Gary permitted the economy of his country to continue to serve foreign interests, and he aligned Grenada with other repressive regimes. At the height of Gary's repression, he sent members of his security force to Augusto Pinochet's Chile for training in torture techniques.
Oh, what's that? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Who's your friend?
Right Honorable Sir Eric Gary.
By now, the United States was the dominant force in the region, and it projected Gary as a respectable Caribbean leader. But he led his people to believe that the key to his success and power came from God.
So Eric Gary projects himself as the only person that stands between God and Grenadians. He said several times that he was only answerable to God.
He made the statement himself.
And so people did not find it very easy to challenge the leader, since the leader was God's representative on earth. He was ruling by divine right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
And therefore all questions relating to his his tenure of office relating to his abuses and so forth should not be directed to him, but indeed should be directed to God.
In the midst of Gary's tyranny, he was knighted by the Queen of England.
We did not have to read a Karl Marx to understand what in fact was before our eyes for all our lives.
Gary's personal corruption led the country into economic decline. Agricultural production dropped 25%. Unemployment rose to 47%. Food prices rose 200%. Clothing 164%. Housing 135%. Moreover, he sexually exploited women who sought work in the public sector. Gary built no new roads, no new schools, no new infrastructure.
Under Gary, there were roads in the hole rather than holes in the road. So bad was the situation. You know, to take a bus from Grenville to St. George's used to cost a laborer what that laborer would make in a day. Remember people coming down the road, either cursing or crying or, you know, in dismay from the kinds of lack of social services that there were in the country. People were taking out their teeth instead of having it repaired because to fill a tooth was so expensive. I remember the situation facing people for medical care, where people would go and sit for hours and hours and hours.
These conditions led to widespread anger and dissatisfaction among Grenadians. The New Jewel movement became the leading opposition party, presenting the people with a platform which clearly outlined a new social and economic system. This approach allowed the people to organize their anger against the Gary regime and his secret police force, the Mongoose Gang.
You look at the Mongoose Gang, and their job, as given by Gary, was to harass, intimidate, beat up, and murder anybody who was opposed to Harry Gary.
They even assassinated Rupert Bishop, the father of the present Prime Minister.
Gary moved in with more and more army forces, and then the guns started firing. I was backed by 4 gunmen. But I passed through because I can't walk faster than a gunshot. There's no use of running.
The unrest continued to mount in the country. In 1979, Gary planned to have the entire NJM leadership killed while he was on a trip to the United States.
The plan was that Gary was going to leave the country on Monday midday, and the instructions that were being left behind was that we should be liquidated. That left us in a position where we had to choose whether to sit and wait for liquidation or whether we should move on the offensive. What we did was that from our positions in hiding, the decision was taken that the next morning we should, at this point in the name of the people, move to seize power from the hands of dictatorship.
It took approximately 24 hours for the revolutionary forces, people who responded to the call of the revolution, to, in fact, seize political power in our country.
The government of the criminal dictator, Eric M. Gary, has been overthrown.
Only 2 people were killed during the revolt. The Mongoose Gang was detained in prison. None were executed. Not even the men who killed Rupert Bishop were harmed.
All religious rights and freedom are now restored.
When describing the day of the revolution, a 72-year-old woman said, "When we hear news of the revolution, it was joy come out. I lifted above the sky."
Gary is a wanted man.
But this new freedom also meant facing the reality of a country in complete economic disarray. Nearly half of the workforce was unemployed. There was only $24 left in the national treasury. The new government and the people had to move swiftly to bring benefits to the people and at the same time institute a plan for long-term economic stability.
Well, the revolution means a lot to me. It means a lot because it helped me so much that I can't really, tell how great the things, it means a lot.
Everybody putting their hands and hat together.
And I feel we're making a lot of progress because you're seeing the country go forward. You could see the action of the people with smiles and things.
3 years after the revolution, the World Bank reported a growth in Grenada's economy of 2%, at a time when most of the other countries of the world were in an economic decline. Despite the ongoing hardships, people can see that things are getting better. Over 12,000 people have benefited from the housing repair program. Low-income housing is available for the first time. Healthcare is recognized as a right for all people.
We've had an increase in the number of doctors that are working in the General Hospital, the subsidiary hospitals in Carriacou and Petite Martinique. We have not only had an increase in quantity, but we've had an increase in quality. We've had assistance from a lot of the friendship groups, from a lot of countries, from organizations that comprise not only Grenadians, but other internationalists in solidarity with the revolution in Grenada.
It really interests me how revolutionary politics influences health and health medicine, and especially also how they are going to build up this sort of primary health care system here. That's what interested me most.
To maintain their power, the colonialists kept the people uneducated, thus preventing the development of the country. Now, for the first time in a century, a new public secondary school has been built. The National Women's Organization provides free school books and uniforms for the children of very low-income families. And sports, cultural, and recreational programs are provided after school for children 5 through 14.
I really like Pioneers, and I do a lot of skits and so. And in the Pioneers, we encourage all to be good at school, to learn the lessons and so. And later days to come, we could be the Prime Minister or the Minister or so.
From the southeast and central zone, we have Nico Church.
We want the kids in the United States of America to be free as we in Grenada. In revolutionary Grenada. We are the flowers of the revolution, the pioneers.
Look at it again. When we have free education, you don't have to pay for that. Sometimes ago I know I had to pay $50 a term for my son to go to school and my daughter. But now here it is, free education.
Our people have made the revolution. The revolution is the people. And without educating and preparing them for the role that they have to play within the change that is taking place now, we would not have a revolution.
Yeah. I am from Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique.
You
are from Martinique. He is from Aruba.
The Center for Popular Education immediately tackled the problem of adult illiteracy, lowering it to 5% in less than 3 years.
Are from the Caribbean.
Your trainer don't ask you at any point in time to Daddy assist me and show me how to do this song. That's
what I'm talking about, really.
Right, and you get a problem because you haven't got the reading and writing skill to show them how to do.
And what hurt me heart is when you see they go to school and they come back and they have their homework to do and they're having some tough time. I don't have to tell them. I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what to tell them. Right? And I'm really, really interested. They really feel me there, you know.
Right.
Because, I mean, who to tell them? It's we.
Right.
We are one people. We are one Caribbean.
I think most people appreciate that all education is development. Even during the construction of the airport, we are going to be benefiting not just the money that's being spent to construct the airport, but the skills that are being acquired at present by Grenadian working on the airport. And when we get a highly skilled group of Grenadians who had been trained at present at the airport. This will lead to further economic development of the country when the airport is completed, because they can go into other construction.
Capital investment has increased by over 700% since the days of Eric Gary.
I work with government for about 15 years, and I operate this tractor, and I find everything going well with this project. But when I used to work in the past government, I used to be laid off certain time because, it didn't have much work. But I find now you have plenty of work, and I like to work at Eastern Main Road because I want to see the project success. So I try all my best to help.
Since after the revolution, I feel the country progressed a lot, right? Because the construction that's going through.
We want to build an economy. We want to build the economy, at least, we know imperial is strong, but somehow we want to build ourselves.
What they pay you for this stuff? What they pay you? Let me see. What they pay you? Go back and see because I'll make a shift. Sit down, you won't make nothing because it's easy and they will take you out to the licks and that's what they
What's the way they said to bring the whole of
We have to understand that after 400 years of backwardness and dependency, it is sometimes difficult to get people to do things for themselves that is difficult to do. In NWO, we have a major role to organize women, to educate them to understand that as women, they have to struggle to bring more benefits to themselves.
Have transport for young, old, and everybody.
And it is a difficult task, for NWO organizers.
You NWM badge, handle it with care.
Yes, we have to sit down and have a lot of talking with the people. Because some hard, some very hard.
Gradually, we start unfolding and telling all different games. I say, well, if you join the group, you're not going to come to meeting every meeting night or every meeting day or every rally you're going to go or so. But it's a struggle for women, and you're a woman.
The National Women's Organization has secured laws guaranteeing such rights as equal pay for equal work and paid maternity leave. Still, women are often uncertain of their new role in the society.
And some of them say, oh, I'm not going to join this thing will collapse and all kind of a thing.
But up to last night, we had the meeting and one was right by me. And they enjoyed it self-aware. And that is what we want.
Not a brother, but a sister working on it. That's a tremendous step forward for women. The movement of our women is part of the movement of all our people to extend the rights and the power of all our people in our society.
It doesn't matter if it's women's rally or not, if it's men's rally. It's just the same thing, the same struggle.
There's a workers' class where they educate the workers, the young, the old. Before that, under the Gary government, we know nothing about workers' class. But right now, under this present government, we have a workers' class and educating the workers. Some of them who leave school when they were small, right now they're getting education about the years gone by, history.
I'll put another way, the different class forces involved. Right? In this struggle. You understand?
Workers have come from a background of myth, fallacy, and they have been brambled and misused in the past.
Taking place.
the working class must begin to look and see what role it's playing, how things are affecting it. Which is something we saw before as we studied, right?
Most of them have left school and probably from that time never related to anything in any manner like that. In the beginning, we did have a lot of problem in convincing some workers that they should participate in the class. And some of them were a little bit skeptical and, you know, they didn't have too much confidence, right? But as they got the substance of what the class is all about, the participation increased.
What happened for later? We can take 2 drinks for later?
I could take it right now.
From the time you put the banana into the ground, you have to know the end result. You actually have to end up knowing who is going to eat that banana. The whole process, which boat takes it, you know, how much it costs, and who pays for it. And to learn all the intricacies. And this is something that has been very much neglected. Now, if the workers do not understand that, how then could they really apply themselves in a meaningful way to ensure that what they are doing is successful?
Cunha is an agricultural worker who invented a trap using local wood to catch cocoa beetles, which were destroying this valuable crop.
Well, you see, I understand by ownself. That is the very method for it. The trap. So by that we put it set like that.
Once the beetles have been attracted away from the cocoa trees and onto the traps, workers collect the small piles of wood and kill the insects.
When you consider that 2 years ago on a farm like this, you have had literally hundreds of these beetles. And today when you walk around, you literally have to search well in order to see a beetle.
The thing I could find now is one dead one I had very long in a bottle. Cannot find none of the estate again in a hurry. So if you kill out the beetle from the area, no damage, more cocoa.
Agricultural workers have the potential, and once they're given the proper environment, once they're given the freedom to think, and there's a sense where they see they have a role, and there is something which gives them an independence and a status, people will come forward with fantastic ideas.
Prices for Grenada's main export crops, nutmeg, cocoa, and bananas, are controlled by the world market, so the country can never predict its own income potential. Grenada, with some assistance from international development agencies, is now diversifying crops and utilizing modern farming techniques to get out of this state of dependency.
What we see happening now is the production of our goods put to the benefit of our people. The whole question of agro-industrial development, the whole question of our people looking into our culture, our identity, studying our history to see how we can change this process, how we can start holding what belongs to us within our country for our own development. And we see development living, coming into being within our country.
Minister of Finance Bernard Cord explained the significance of the new agro-industrial plan at the first international conference in solidarity with Free Grenada.
With 400 years of private sector in Grenada and 400 years of 8 million pounds of mangoes falling on the ground and rotting on trees throughout Grenada, it took the PRG to take those mangoes and to can and bottle them, put mango slices, mango juice, mango nectar, nutmeg jelly, tamarind juice, tamarind nectar, and all the other ranges of fruits and juices. All of them, first of all, researched, developed, perfected, and now mass-produced by the People's Revolutionary Government after 400 years of private sector.
The fishing industry is another example of how British colonialism kept Grenada from developing its potential. Since the revolution, the PRG has acquired a modern fishing fleet, and men and women are being trained in fishing techniques at the new fishing school. Grenada, a country surrounded by water, found itself actually importing most of its fish and unable to feed its people properly otherwise.
What we produce here must belong to us.
What's ours is ours. We don't want what America has, or Canada has, or any other country. We want what we have to be ours.
I am responsible for coordinating food and nutrition programs throughout Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique. What we have done since we started is to initiate a system of nutrition assistance to each parish. Our nutrition assistants have been able to make direct contact and face-to-face contact with people in the community so that they're able to discuss what their nutritional problems are, particularly with their young children.
A campaign to eat local has been necessary because colonialism encouraged the people for generations to think that expensive imported food was better. Local foods were symbolic of poverty.
It's only when we recognize the root causes of this kind of problem, and the root causes in our situation lies in the effects of imperialism and the way they want to keep us down, the way the countries who have the money, the way the countries who produce the grain, for example, which is what our people depend on. 70% of our energy intake comes from flour, and that is controlled by the United States. The export of it, the price of it, and all that, right? And people are encouraged to eat this rather than to eat what they produce. People are encouraged to continue at a low productivity level so that they continue to be the consumers of wheat.
The Caribbean is seen fundamentally, or Latin America is seen fundamentally, as a collection of banana republics. Our people are not respected. Our sovereignty is dismissed. In fact, some people see us as Neanderthals.
Such arrogance has always characterized the U.S. involvement in the Caribbean.
The more than 200 interventions made by the United States, military interventions, since the 1790s, more than 100 of those interventions have been in the Caribbean.
All of these actions have been taken under the guise of fighting the spread of communism and defending the region for U.S.-style democracy. And then there was June 19th, 1980.
June 19th, 1980 was another occasion for counter-revolutionary destabilization. A bomb was placed where thousands of Grenadian patriots had gathered. This bomb was placed and intended to eliminate and to make a mass murder of the Grenadian leadership. It did not do that, but 3 women were murdered. Over 100 people were hospitalized, and the investigations of the government proved that those inside Grenada who were involved in placing the bomb and in making sure that it went off, that they were supported by CIA contact men. And this was yet another occasion when we knew that the CIA was involved in the general destabilization of the country.
On the small island of Grenada, at the southern end of the Caribbean chain, the Cubans, with Soviet financing and backing, are in the process of building an airfield with a 10,000-foot runway. Grenada doesn't even have an air force. Who is it intended for? The Soviet-Cuban militarization of Grenada, in short, can only be seen as power projection into the region, and it is
I have talked with appropriate Navy personnel as well as Air Force personnel who stated unequivocally to me in direct response to questions that I raised. And their statement was that there is no military significance to this airport on the island of Grenada whatsoever. The problems in that region of the world are economic, political, and social and economic. They have to be solved in that context. These are not military problems.
Runway 26. The present airport is too small for cargo planes and for jets, making it inadequate for meeting the needs of Grenada's agricultural and tourism sectors.
Right now, a lot of people are complaining they struggle to get to Grenada. And when we have our airport, we won't have that problem anymore. People will be able to leave the States, Canada, wherever they're from, and fly direct here. It'll be much easier for them.
Tourism is second to agriculture as Grenada's source of foreign exchange. The State Department actually contacted travel agents and told them that the government would not be responsible for the safety of U.S. citizens who visit Grenada. The new airport will have a 9,800-foot runway, which is a minimum standard length set by international aviation authorities for the landing of jets. Private firms from the United States, Britain, and Finland have performed major parts of the construction work, but by far the greatest assistance in both funding and construction has come from Cuba.
Would not have been possible without the help and assistance of the Cuban. Long live Cuba-Grenada friendship.
Despite Grenada's progress, the United States continues to spread misinformation, not only about the new airport, but also about human rights within the country.
We have to struggle as people who are being destabilized every day to get people out there to understand the really devastating effects of propaganda.
According to the Bureau, it had received complaints about mass torture being practiced by the Bishop government.
You get this whole question of the disinformation being hidden behind the facade of a free press and a free media generally.
The major media both inside the U.S. and in the Caribbean region have persistently published stories which reflect the U.S. government's position about Grenada.
It says there are over 700 political prisoners on the island. The number of prisoners far exceeds the capacity of the jails. So Bishop has ordered the construction of prison farms similar to those existing in Cuba. We have some prison farms now. They are warehousing prisoners in semi-trailers received from Cuba, in which they hold them for many hours under the intense heat of the sun that practically cooks them. We cooking prisoners now in warehouses. This is the same year when if you drive around Grenada, you see the most amount of signs of activity of building. When more and more nationals from abroad are coming back home and building new houses. When more and more activity is going on in all of the other areas in terms of the programs of the revolution.
Despite all the lies and propaganda, the Grenadian people know the truth and are prepared to defend their revolution.
For hundreds of years, we gave you our labor, our sweat, and our tears. True, true. I think you are very rude to answer me like that. Mr. Imperialist, I am not rude. It is just that I'm fed up with your domination. Why won't you leave me alone? I want to survive in peace. Why do you keep on troubling my economy? We want to travel. We want to travel.
I know I was in pressure when Gary was in power, and now I'm free, thank God.
Well, we all was under pressure.
We all under pressure.
I used to hide myself.
I joined the militia because I'm trying to protect my grandchildren.
Of course.
Right? And through I in it, many others join because I'm in age. And if I in age and I could join, the others take step.
Me as a militia woman, I feel as I am equal to any man inside here in defense, but when it come for cooking or whatnot, I will take up my pot and cook. But when it come for defending my country, I will defend my country. Besides a man.
We in Grenada here should be in solidarity with the people of El Salvador.
Our revolution was the first revolution in the history of the English-speaking Caribbean. Our revolution came out at a time when the people of the world were up in arms about the oppression, when the people of the world were overthrowing dictators.
Let us remember our struggling sisters and brothers in Africa, in Namibia, in South Africa, who are presently fighting against white racist minority regime.
So we have a very historic task, a very noted and remarkable task to ensure that the revolution in Grenada stays there, remains, and that it goes from strength to strength.
If we can't defend our revolution, defend what we fought and struggled so hard to build, we cannot continue to work with the right kind of solutions. If we allow imperialism to turn back this revolution, then we might as well stop working in nutrition, because we will not be able to do the kinds of things that we are doing. Because the kinds of things we are doing are related to solving the problems of poverty.
Ordinary step!
Otherwise, we just touching the surface and we're not really answering any questions. We are working without answering any questions.
The United States has stated that Grenada is not democratic because we do not have elections. Our history of electoral rule under the Gary dictatorship did not give our people a chance to have a say in the day-to-day running of Grenada.
Previously, we had elections once every 5 years. Now with the new democracy, the new grassroots democracy, where the masses comes in the organizations and meet on a weekly or monthly basis and discuss a problem in various parts of the country through the mass organization as different, where only 15 men used to discuss the problems of the people before.
Comrades are in favor of the rules as they are presented, and comrades vote using the credential cards, right? Comrades are against, any against, they show by raise of hand using the credential cards.
With the new democracy, the grassroots democracy, everybody will discuss the problems of the country through the mass organizations, in the various groups in the villages, and then on the parish level and nationally.
Any force that is really held in, whenever it's let loose, like the youth had the opportunity to be let loose on March 13th, then you would find it resulting in things like these, a mass organization of youth. You know? The youths were suppressed for so long that, well, obviously, once they got the freedom, you know, they felt free to organize themselves, to take part in all the things that they know for their betterment, in the creation of that better, that new and just society that we speak.
I'm very glad.
Our people have rejected the 5-year Westminster-style democracy because we don't have to wait 5 years to say what we want as a people. We get it every day. We get the opportunity every day.
And next thing again, the zonal council meeting. We never had that under Gary dictatorship, right? But now that we have it under this government, you could go in, tell them, well, what you feel you want for your villages and different places, right? What you feel they should do. And they take a good at least listen to what you're saying. But under the Gary dictatorship, we never had that. Gary see and he's all. When he say this, that go on, right? So I feel we're going forward. I feel we're moving.
You're hoping that I will tell you that by tomorrow morning all the roads
in St. George's or in the parish of St. George's will be in excellent order.
Of course, a workers' council is something which is entirely new to me. No doubt you were thinking that someone who were answering questions in such a big gathering for the first time might have been a bit shy. But no, the workers' council, one is able to do exactly what the workers' council is intended to go there without being ashamed and ask and answer questions in the best possible and honest way in which one can do so.
Why it is that at times when you have a gang of people who work in,
this new form of participatory democracy is attracting attention and capturing the imagination of people throughout the region. Grenadians are creating a new form of government which is more responsive to their needs than any they've ever experienced. The new democracy is still being created, but already Grenadians have participated in the preparation of the national budget. And soon, the recently established Constitution Commission will submit a first draft of the new Constitution to the zonal councils for debate, changes, and approval.
To congratulate Comrade Burke on his splendid explanation. I think he has done a job.
There is no other country in the English-speaking Caribbean where on any night in any part of their country you could find a permanent secretary trade and a budget officer in the Ministry of Finance together with ministers of government who come forward and report to the people and present themselves for scrutiny. No other country. Friendship, solidarity, and cooperation among the people of the world. Long live the struggle for peace, social progress, and national liberation. Long live the Grenada Revolution. Long live the fighting people of New Grenada. Forward ever! Forward ever! Thank you very much, and a very pleasant good evening to you, comrades.
I think by now, most of the people have get to the understanding of what all this thing is all about.
Y'all, it's wonderful.
It's so good. I mean, Grenada very going forward.
Oh, Grenada. Oh, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, feeling it too. Oh, Grenada. Oh, Grenada. Oh, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, feeling it too. Whenever you are with action, so they started to plan to bring about a revolution. No more money in the treasury, and the people no longer hungry, and we're building a new society. Free Grenada, free Grenada, free Carriacou.